AV in your ears. That's Ambush Vin giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know. Let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
Hey Streetwalkers, this is a throwback episode with celebrity fitness trainer, author, podcaster, and documentary filmmaker Vinnie Tortorich. Vinnie has been on the show 6 times, far more than anyone else, but his first appearance on the show was October 8th, 2017, and it was such a compelling and fun episode, I decided that it needed to be revisited. So enjoy this throwback episode, tell a friend, and thanks for listening. I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Hey guys, this episode is Vinnie Tortorich. This is going to be part 1 of 2. In this episode, we learn how he grew up, hear some pretty cool stories about him, and we begin the story of how he found out he had leukemia. Let's get right to it.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Well, I'm super excited that you agreed to do this with me. I appreciate it.
Is it okay if we just get right into it?
Yeah.
Tell me about yourself. Tell me, how did you find me?
I found you through Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah, through the Corolla show or whatever.
And didn't you go over there? What did you tell me? Or
I'm gonna
interview every guy
as
there.
much as I can. Well, obviously not Adam or not Brian, but and then I'm gonna go over to the other shop and interview Nate. None of those. I'm not gonna interview those weirdos that don't eat anything.
Well, one of them left.
Yeah. But I'm gonna interview Nate, the guy who's working on those movies with Adam.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
But I never come to California ever. It's my first time, and so I wanted to really kind of make the most of it.
So you're meeting everybody that you can meet.
I'm doing everything all the time. This is just crazy.
Where are you from?
I live in San Antonio.
I love San Antonio.
Oh, cool. When were you there?
A lot. In college, my first love, I played football at Tulane. She was on the volleyball team. She was from San Antonio.
Oh, cool.
And I used to go there a lot back then. I have this love. It's kind of a weird love of driving. I just
I can see why. That's a nice car, man.
Yeah, thanks. Sometimes I drive. I have an old Toyota. I drive that thing everywhere. Yeah, I've driven it across country a few times. I just drove that one across country a few months ago.
To go show it to your dad or what?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, my dad was. Did I mention that on the show? Or
Yeah,
something?
you did. Yeah.
See, I never know what I mentioned in public.
Well, I listen a lot, like very carefully. Like, you know who Kevin Pollak is?
Yeah, I love Kelvin Pollak.
Well, he did one of his. He has a podcast, and on his podcast about, I guess it was about a year and a half ago, he had on Clint Howard.
Oh yeah, Ron Howard's brother.
Yeah.
I grew up with Clint Howard on television,
Clint
so.
Howard. And I listen to Kevin Pollak all the time, and I was listening to that episode, and throughout the course of the interview, Clint kind of he dropped like a little hint here and a little hint there, and so I was able to connect all those dots that he kind of left, and like get a hold of him, and like that's who I stayed with when I flew in like a couple days ago.
Really? So you stayed at Clint's house?
Yeah, and I've been hanging out with Clint all week, and he did this with me, and
Oh wow!
he's just a super cool dude. But it's all because I pay very close attention when I'm listening to all these podcasts. But it was really cool.
Sometimes I wonder if I give too many clues and that kind of thing. Because
really.
they're wackos out there, and you got to be careful.
Yeah, and Clint. Yeah. I mean, to be fair to Clint, he was a little, like what the fuck is? How did you find me? Like, what's going on?
That's how I am a lot of times. It's like, how did you get a hold of me?
That makes sense. I get that.
Because, we don't realize what we're putting out there. Like
Right.
you try to be guarded, we try to be vague, but, So tell me about your podcast. What do you talk about?
So the name of the podcast is called Fascination Street. And what it's about really is just people that I find fascinating. Like the first episode was just my mother-in-law, about how she met her husband, and about how her brother, like when he was 14, he lied about his age so that he could get into the army and go to the Korean War at 14. And then he was a prisoner of war until he was 17, and then he came back, and just little interesting nuggets like that. Then I interviewed like her husband, and at one point, I guess during the 60s, he lived in Mississippi, and at one point he had a pet monkey, which I've known this man for 15 years, and that never comes up, and I just think I think it's fascinating.
Does he still have a monkey?
No, the monkey, it had sort of had a tragic ending, but I just think it's so weird that you can know somebody for 15 years and not know they had a pet monkey at one time. I just think that's weird. I mean, in Mississippi, I don't know. So it's just people that I find interesting or fascinating. It's just people and stories, and not all of them are going to be fascinating to everybody, but to me they are, and I just have a thirst for more stories.
That's cool. How long have you been doing it? Yeah. Not very long. I think you told me that. You just started.
The first episode went up last week. Oh, but before you go on, here, this is for you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for doing this for me. I appreciate it.
This is
It's not beer. Just beer.
I don't drink beer.
I know it all turns to sugar.
This
and
is so
whatever.
cool.
So,
Thank you.
I appreciate you doing this with me. And
You didn't have to do this, but I will drink every ounce of it.
Good for you.
If it wasn't this early in the day, and if I didn't have 4 podcasts to do after this, I'd pour
are
in
you
my
doing
coffee.
4 podcasts later? Good job.
I'm doing 5 today, yeah.
Sweet.
That's
Good on you.
what I do.
Well, first of all, Vinnie Tortorich, VinnieTortorich.com, is that right?
Yeah.
So, you're a fitness and health expert.
Yeah.
What got you into the fitness mindset? Like, what happened?
Yeah, it was interesting because I grew up, I was the consummate nerd. I was...
In Louisiana?
Yeah, I grew up I was born on the bayou. There's a song about that. I was actually born with a bayou running through the backyard.
Really?
Yeah, I was in a shotgun single.
So,
shotgun style house. No, my parents, my grandparents were poor.
Okay.
But they were the type of poor, because they were from Italy, and they were the type of poor where they were trying to struggle
so your
to
parents
make...
are from Italy?
No, my grandparents,
Okay.
and in some cases my great-grandparents. So I kind of knew my ancestors, if you will. And they were not poverty-stricken. They were hard-working, poor people.
Okay.
Who, and some of them went through the Great Depression, that kind of thing. When they got here, the Depression happened, and so they made sure that they scrimped and saved every dime. On my mom's side, and she got to go to college, and on my dad's side, he got to go to college. They met in high school, and both went to college, and so when they got out, they had jobs as school teachers, so they became instant middle class in the late 1950s. Just by rote of their jobs. They pension. If you just stay on the job, you end up with a pension and that sort of thing. And so it was important for them to get their kids to move along. But yeah, I grew up on a bayou. Very simple lifestyle. Kind of, we were talking about Clint Howard. Kind of Ron Howard-ish. Kind of Mayberry town.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing. But I was a super nerd. I had a speech impediment from a hearing problem I had, and the other kids goofed on me and that kind of thing, so I started getting picked on. And I didn't like superheroes. I was never into really Batman, Superman, or anything.
So you were the one nerd who wasn't into comic books?
Yeah, because I had trouble reading, so I wasn't really into that. But I was into I saw Jack LaLanne on television
Yeah.
in like 1970. I was 8 years old. And he was a superhero that somehow my brain figured out he was a real superhero. He wasn't fake.
Right.
Like this was a real human being, and he had
little tugboats and stuff.
yeah
He did all
he
kinds of crazy
he
things.
would yeah, but I didn't even know that about him back then. Every birthday he would hook another rowboat and he would pull it across some lake. He would swim across the lake
There were
and
people in it, I heard.
yeah, all kinds of stuff. He was just
insane.
this crazy guy, and I started paying attention to him, and I would watch him on his television program, and he would do jumping jacks and you know, squat thrust and the whole thing, but he would lift weights over his head, and I would see the muscles in his arms bulging out when he lifted the weights up, and my 8-year-old brain just kind of went, oh wait, if you lift heavy objects over your head, you can be Jack LaLanne.
So at 8 is when that switch flipped
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, and I found, you know, my neighbors, my cousins were my neighbors. You know, we were a bunch of Italians living on a bayou.
Right.
So they were all farmers. They grew everything from beans to sugarcane. And, you know, because of that, they, there was all kinds of farm equipment hanging around. So I found a hollowed out pipe, and I found some
Like
bricks.
a big one?
It was just a pipe. It must have
Couple
been
of feet, 3 to
maybe
4 feet.
3-4
Okay.
feet. You know, for me it felt really long because I was 8.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and I would put some bricks on each end, and I would try to
Like
get the
cinder
bricks.
blocks?
Not that big. They were like
regular
just
bricks or
regular
bricks?
house brick.
Okay,
You know,
sure.
they had holes in
I mean,
them.
you are 8.
Yeah, there was no way I was getting a cinder block over my head at that age. And I would put these bricks on the end, and I would try to lift it up, and of course, the bricks would slide into my hands and rip up my
Into your
hands.
hand,
And,
yeah.
But I didn't give up. You know, I would just keep trying to get it over my head. And one of my great uncles, meaning my dad's uncles, saw this. And he was a war veteran of World War II, and he liked boxing and everything. And he asked me how my hands got so cut up. And I showed him my rudimentary barbell system. And he said, I can introduce you to a great weightlifter. There's this Italian gentleman in town that lifts weights. And I said, well, is he like Jack LaLanne? And my uncle said, he's better than Jack LaLanne. And I knew that was bullshit.
Well, he's better because I know him.
Yeah, well, it was like, my uncle was like, Jack LaLanne, that guy, I'm going to introduce you to better than Jack LaLanne. I was like, how is that even possible? You know, but he did. He introduced me to this guy, Joe Bonadonna. I know that name sounds like something you would hear on Saturday Night Live, but
Sure, it does.
you know, and Joe Bonadonna, man, this guy, it looked like he had 2 honey-baked hams for chest muscles,
Really?
and he was ripped, and he had big arms and the whole thing, and I
Like
was
Lou
just-
Ferrigno ripped?
not quite that big, but he was
pretty big.
bigger than Stallone Rocky 1,
Oh, shit.
you know, that kind of thing. And we're talking 1970. This is
Right.
before Stallone or anything. I'd never seen anything like
Super
this.
cut, well defined.
Yeah, and
Muscles you didn't know existed.
I'm 8. You know,
Sure.
how do you know this exists?
So was your family, were they like fairly healthy, or were they on the heavy side? Like how was the rest of your family?
At the time, in 1970, I remember my mom eating grapefruits, and I would say, why are you eating grapefruits all the time? She says, because her mommy's on a diet. You know, but she wasn't fat by any stretch. And my dad was normal weight. Nobody exercised, though. And it was no craze in this country for exercise.
Right, and it wasn't really a craze for just pounding into junk food either.
Yeah, it made none of it made sense. So, you know, Joe said that he didn't allow anyone to walk into his little gym that he had in the garage, but he told me if I never missed a day, I can keep coming and he'll keep teaching me.
And you're just standing outside of the garage, or he said he wouldn't let you in?
You know, I was like, can I please come in? No, he invited me in.
Okay.
And for the first time, there was a grown-up, and there was this behemoth of a human being that took an interest in me. My dad took a great interest in me, but my dad didn't understand. When I came home and said I got beat up at school, my dad would just say, well, did you fight back? And I would say, no, but I will tomorrow. And then I would fight back, and then the nuns would call. I went to a Catholic school, and they would say, your son is being disruptive. He's beating up other kids. So I became the ipso facto troublemaker.
Right.
You know, if that makes any sense.
It does.
And all of a sudden, you know, I had this guy, Joe, who was, you know, like a friend. He was this grown-up friend. He wasn't a parent. Yet he knew my parents. They grew up together. They grew up kind of in the Italian ghetto.
Okay.
You know, so they all knew each other. And so Joe became like another father to me.
Like a mentor.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Is he still around?
He passed away. I want to say he passed away 8 or 10 years now, and I wrote about him in my book, Fitness Confidential. And I remember at some point I got his wife's permission and his kids' permission to write about him. Even though I didn't need it, I just wanted them to feel like they were part of it. And on top of that, his brother, I'm not making his name up, his name is in the book too, Meatball Bonadonna.
Oh yeah. He used to help out Father Guido Sarducci on Saturday Night Live. Oh.
When people hear the names from Donaldsonville, Louisiana, they go, come on, you're making this up. I mentioned him when I was writing the book with super nerd Dean Laurie. When I mentioned Meatball Bonadonna, he goes, I've known you for 8 years, and now you're mentioning a guy named Meatball Bonadonna?
It's like that monkey.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and then when I mentioned this other guy, Lou Latino, he goes, come on, you're just making him up now.
Yeah, you are.
You know, but these are the people I grew up, these characters I grew up with, and I think that's what made Fitness Confidential kind of become the book that it became, because it was a fitness book with color.
Right.
You know,
It was not just the medicine, but some comedy too.
hopefully, have you read the book?
I haven't read the book. I mean, I have it. I just haven't started it. I only recently got it. I'm sorry.
You're the kind of guy, and I never say this, but just knowing you for 5 minutes, you're going to like it, because it's not a fitness book. You know, it talks around fitness, but it's a story.
Cool.
And I think you would end up liking
I do love
it.
stories.
Corolla loved it. I didn't. Mark Garagos has read it twice.
Really?
Yeah. I said, "Come on, Mark, did you really read it?" He goes, "I'm on my second round of it."
Cool.
And I'm like, "Wow," because he's a hero to me. Garagos says.
Yeah, he's that guy's a legend.
Oh my God, he's just he's beyond smart. Yeah.
Yeah, just listening to that podcast he does with Adam.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't remember the name of it right now, but just the stories he tells. I mean, he's really smart.
Yeah, he's you know, when you sit around and talk about guys, and we're not talking about just book smart, we're talking street smart.
Yeah, he's street smart too,
and that's a rare combination.
Yeah.
To have that kind of guy. But I got off track. You know, the book became that kind of thing where these interesting characters are weaved into a story about fitness. And I'm pretty sure that's why it kind of became what it became.
So what led you to write that book? And then what led you to write it in that style?
Dean Laurie, for both answers.
Okay.
If you don't know who he is, he's a guy, he's one of the writers and producers for Arrested Development.
Okay.
You know, he's that kind of nerdy guy. I hate Arrested Development. I've never watched it. I can't watch it.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but the narrator is Ron Howard.
Yeah. I don't think I know what Arrested Development means and how it works and the whole thing.
Right.
I don't think that could ever be done again. And an interesting story about it, you know, the reason Dean and I sat down and wrote the book was there was a writer's strike going on, big writer, where the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA, all of them got together and they striked together.
Right, it was a contract negotiation.
Oh yeah, and it went on forever. And when you're a trainer in this town that works in Hollywood with celebrities, when they go on strike, everyone is on strike. You know,
if they're not making money, they're not paying anybody.
Yeah, and the news always talks about collateral damage in this town. Well, you're looking at collateral damage. If they're not working, I'm not working.
Right.
That's just a fact.
And some of them, if they're not trying to train for a role, again, you're not working.
You're out. You're done. You're dependent on the industry So Dean and I were waiting out the strike, and we would go about a half a mile from here is a fish restaurant. We'd meet every Friday night, grab a piece of fish, and we would have a scotch. And he would say to me, "You should write." I wrote a children's book years ago that did well. And he goes, "You should write."
Monty,
right?
Okay.
Yeah, about a little girl and a horse. Wow, you do know. You've done your homework.
I'm trying, man.
Wow. Yeah, and he goes, I love your style of writing, and you should write again, and you should do a fitness book. And I kept, every week, I would say no. But he would stay on me about it, and he would come with ideas of how this book should be. Now, when most people have a friend that's a writer, and you've written something that had success, and this guy's saying, I will write this with you, and you keep saying no, you really don't want to write that book.
Right.
And he said something to me one night during our scotch where I went, oh yeah, I get what you want. I get what you're telling me.
So again, it was a switch flicked moment.
Yeah, and I said, how should we do this? He goes, well, you go and write it, he tells me. And so what I did over the next couple of months is I started writing notes, longhand, because I don't type very well.
So you were just like, in these writings, you're just writing, like the story of this person or the story of this event, and then you were going to put it together later, or?
Kind of. Okay. Just notes on top of notes. And Dean, and I would sit there and tap out the notes from my written notes. I would type them into a Word document. And about once a week, I would just pop them off to Dean because I was afraid I would lose them.
Right.
Because I don't know how to really use a computer.
Sure.
What I didn't realize was Dean was taking them and not just, he was categorizing them. And he called me one day, or we were having our scotch or something, and he goes, you've written over 40,000 words in notes. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, they don't want books to be longer than 60,000 words anymore. And you're at almost book length in notes. And he goes, you need to start writing it. I said, Dean, I don't know what to do with it.
Were you surprised at that number?
Yeah, kind of. I was. If you would have asked me, I would have said, 16,000 words in notes.
Okay.
I'm somewhat prolific when I grab a pen.
I guess so.
If I tried to type it firsthand, I couldn't because I think quicker than I can type, way quicker than I can ever type.
Apparently you write quicker than you can type.
Yeah, I literally write longhand with a fountain pen.
Really?
Yeah. I think I'm the only guy still using a fountain pen.
Do you have good handwriting?
No. Only, it's. So
you're like a left-handed doctor?
No. The nuns always, it was all about penmanship when I was growing up. And the nuns, you're atrocious. And other people look at my writing and go, oh my God, you have beautiful penmanship.
That's funny.
But they were about the Queen's English and the whole thing. And I was about, being a Cajun, I guess. But I got these notes out there. And Dean and I decided to get together one afternoon and cobble. He pulled out a note, and we started talking about the note. We started both. I went longhand, and he started typing, and I kept talking, and I was writing, and I'm talking while I'm writing, and he's over there looking at me, tapping out as fast as he can. And at the end of the day, we looked at it, and he went, holy shit, we just did a chapter. We just did it. We sat here, and he goes, I was nervous. He told me this. He goes, I was nervous because I've never sat in a room and written with anyone to do a book before. When writers do it in a writer's room, one guy's pitching jokes and the other guy is doing storyline, and the other guy. And here, two guys who have never worked together were sitting there. So he says, what are you doing tomorrow? And we did that every day for about 5, maybe 6 months.
In a row?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we ended up with 100 and something thousand words, and then we melted it down. We economized words and got it to like 70,000. And on the day we said we were finished, Dean has signed a contract to go do those 13 episodes of Arrested Development.
Netflix.
Yeah. And so for that kind of timing to happen for two guys.
No kidding. I mean, that's a tight window to fit that in.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Beginning, middle, and end. And the book.
You know what that is? That's fascinating.
Yeah. That's Fascination Street right there. I've never told that story like this before.
Good.
People have asked me about it. Yeah, Dean Laura and I sat around and we wrote a book, you know. And I've never thought about it before, but that's weird, right?
No. That's cool.
Yeah. That's Fascination Street right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask you this question. I think it was like October, the beginning of October of 2013, my mom got diagnosed with leukemia. And 6 weeks later, she was dead.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. A little backstory, when she was about 15 years old, she got Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she went to, I guess it's MD Anderson in Houston.
That's the big one.
And they did, at the time it was experimental. I don't think they do it now. It was they used cobalt as a treatment.
Yeah.
And it did I guess, I don't know, cure her lymphoma, but it weakened all of her other organs. And so when she got to be about 40, she started having a lot of problems. Like, you know what the pericardium is?
No.
The pericardium is sort of a balloon sac that the heart sits in.
Right.
And she had to have hers removed because it had sort of calcified. And so the cardiologist explained it like trying to blow up a balloon inside a mason jar.
Right.
So, it was really constricted. And she ended up having, lung problems and kidney problems and just all these problems. And so, doing the chemo, they got the cancer, but then 12 hours later, all of her organs just started failing, and she died.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
So, I want to say it was around 2007 that you got diagnosed with leukemia?
It wasn't around 2007. It was 2007.
Okay.
Right around this time of year.
Oh, if there's anything that's off limits or you don't want to talk about,
Oh, no, I'm wide open on cancer. As a matter of fact, I talk to people on a daily basis.
Thanks.
Yeah. We already have music in the background. We're doing this outside, folks, at a Starbucks in Calabasas. And, I did a video one day. I'll tell you this real quickly. We'll get back to cancer. I stood in front of the Starbucks one day and did a video.
This one?
Right here.
Yeah.
A few people, there's like 14,000 people have downloaded it at my
Where
YouTube.
is that available?
Huh?
Where is that available?
Vinnie Tortorich YouTube.
Okay.
And I stood right here, and Dean Laurie's son held the camera. He was sitting in a chair right here, and just everyone that came out, I was asking them what they were drinking. And
Okay.
put together this cool
That's funny
video.
because I was going to ask you what you're drinking.
It's just iced coffee, and I poured, as you know, heavy whipping cream. They gave me a gallon.
Yeah,
It was going to be too hot to take home.
They did give you a lot.
But it was on the side. I was able
So is
to
that what
pour.
you normally get? It's just an ice?
No,
is it
usually
Americano or just a?
no, just iced
coffee.
coffee. I generally don't buy from Starbucks.
Right.
But whenever I do something like this or interviews, I'll have whatever they have, and
Sure.
it's hot as hell today. So
It is. This is the hottest it's been since I got to California.
yeah,
I'm from San Antonio, where it's constantly 104 degrees.
Yeah.
So all week, it's it's been like 88 or something, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's so hot," and I just start laughing.
Yeah.
But today it's actually hot.
yeah, it's getting there. But yeah, right before this, I was out running. Yeah, I just I didn't even change my shoes. I just threw some other pants on, some shorts on, and here I am.
Cool.
It was hot as hell out there.
So you're shooting this video
Yeah, I was shooting this. Why did we even bring the video up?
because that guy was honking his
Oh
horn.
yeah, we were shooting a video, and it seems like every time I was getting someone interesting on camera, these guys, it was a weekend, so these guys have all their Harleys out and everything, and
my gosh.
they're out in the parking lot, just throwing revs around, and rap, 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 and it was like, every time I had someone interesting on camera.
That's great.
So I even threw it into that video. I talk
you?
about these guys with their motorcycles at some point.
That's funny.
So you can go listen to that later if you really are.
Is there a
hurting.
title? Like, what's the video called?
It's Starbucks. I think it's called "Is Starbucks Making Us Fat?"
Okay.
I think.
I'm sure they appreciated that.
Yeah.
But with those kinds of clues, we can find it.
Yeah. Is Starbucks Making Us Fat? Vinnie Tortorich
YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
So 2007.
I was living in Beverly Hills at the time, and I would come out here to train for my long distance bike races, and I do these ultra events where I go 500 miles on a bike and that sort of thing. So it gets better when you're out here to ride long distances, and there's mountains, and there's if you get over a couple of these hills, you're out into the vegetable and the fruit
So when you say
fields.
better, you mean it's a more pleasant experience?
Yeah,
Not that
there's
it's
less
flat and
traffic.
easy.
No, it's tough. And as you know, it's hot.
Yeah.
And when you're training for desert races, you get the heat training, you get the mountains, you get less traffic, you get everything. So
Gotcha.
every Saturday I would be on my long ride. And
That's how you train, right? You do a bunch of shorter rides and then a longer ride. And then
one big long ride a week, and then Sunday you come back with, like if I would ride 200, 250 miles on Saturday, I would come back with like 100, 120 on Sunday.
Okay.
And then lick my wounds on Monday, on Tuesday ride for an hour, on Wednesday maybe
My
ride
wife
for 2
used
hours.
to run. She's run probably 60 marathons.
Yeah.
And a couple of ultras, and so she was explaining that was all before she met me. I stopped that. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
you cut that shit out
Yeah,
right away.
I was like,
Yeah.
look at this figure. We don't run.
We don't do this stuff.
Yeah, I said, let's burn calories other ways.
It really is a nerd sport, though. When you
Well,
think of the
that's
whole
a tough
thing.
thing, man. That's a tough deal. And she's 5 foot. And,
Yeah.
and now she's starting to have a little bit of problems with her knees and all those miles and her ankles and shit like that. But
Yeah.
but I'm sorry. So you were in 2007. Your practice or your training.
Yeah. I would come out here. I would park my car at a place called the Commons, about a quarter of a mile from here. It'd be like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I would drive from Beverly Hills, come out here.
Because that's when it was cool, or just because you were
Well,
gonna be
because
doing it all
you
damn
need
day?
the whole day.
Yeah.
If you're going to ride 250 or 300 miles, you're going to be riding into that evening.
Right.
So I wanted to get a head start on the day. By the time I'd get rolling, it would be 3 or 3:30, and I was having some issues, some telltales.
Like with aches and pains or breathing or
Aches and pain, I never get sick or anything, but I would wake up in the middle of the night with phantom pains in my abdomen, and I would try to throw up to see if I can make it go away. I would try to poop. I would try to do everything, but
nothing was working.
yeah, I wasn't nauseous. And sometimes I would have what I would call the cancer flu. I named it that after I figured out I had cancer, where I would ride all day Saturday. On Sunday, I couldn't lift my head off the pillow. And I was just justifying all of it. It's like, I'm getting older.
Yeah,
I'm
you're riding
riding
120 miles. Or
Yeah, it was
300 miles
108
or
degrees
whatever.
out there yesterday. I had every excuse known to mankind.
Sure.
Just
Anything but cancer. Anything but there's something medically wrong with me.
Well, look, anyone who can ride 200 miles on a Saturday,
That's a healthy person.
you don't have problems yet,
Right.
right? But there were things. You feel the heat today. I would be riding in this, going up a mountain, and I was wearing some of my winter clothes, some of my winter cycling clothes,
Why?
because I had the chills.
Oh, shit.
And whenever I run into an old friend like Andy Schreiber, who runs Pure Vitamin Club, my closest friend, I don't see Andy for weeks at a time. I'd run into him, and he'd go, "Are you okay?
Really?
You look like crap. You look like death warmed over." Everyone was. I was down to 155 pounds again. It's the heat and all the
The
riding.
heat and all the training, and I'm getting older, and it's just
I had excuses for everything, and just an odd blood test had me found out through my
So was it? Did you say his name was Andy?
Andy. Yeah.
Was it him saying you look terrible that made you go get a blood test? Like
No,
what
no.
made that happen?
Interesting. This company, and this meanders off, but I was getting ready to do this big race, and I'm one of the top guys in the sport. So this guy is saying to me, now someone else is in the conversation.
And I can't understand him, so I can't even eavesdrop.
Welcome to California.
It's fine. Just talk a little louder.
Anyway, this company that made these altitude tents that you put around your bed, they're like $15,000 and $18,000 tents, where you put it around your bed and you pump nitrogen in there, and it makes you sleep at altitudes. Now you're sleeping at 12,000 or 14,000
So it's
feet.
like to practice for like Everest or something?
People use it for that,
climbing.
mountain climbing, but it also helps build up your red blood cells.
Okay.
And they wanted to give me a tent for free if I would advertise them in my next race.
Okay.
And I said, look, I'll make you a deal. Send me a tent. I'll use it for 3 months. If my hematocrit level goes up at all, I will then say that this tent worked. But if it doesn't go up, nothing. They go, oh, we're sure it's going to go up. So, they sent
So
me a
you
tent.
took the blood test to get a baseline.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was complete. Bicycle saved my life.
Wow.
Yeah. Completely saved my life. And
That's really cool.
yeah. So the test sat on
So did it work? How were your levels after your period?
Well, here's the interesting part. I took the baseline test. I went to my friend who's a doctor to get it done so I wouldn't have to wait and the whole thing. So she took the blood. She sent it off to the labs. It came back, and it sat on her desk for 3 weeks. And she said, oh, that's Vinnie's test. I'll get it. He just needs these as a baseline.
Right.
So by the time...
He doesn't need these numbers right now. He needs these numbers at the end of this thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Which, by the time they started testing me, I'd been sleeping in that tent for a month. And my red blood cells did go up a bit. My white blood cells were tanked. I had no white blood cells.
Oh, Lord.
So the tent was actually working. So, folks, if you want to spend $18,000 on a tent, that kind of thing, do that. By the way, should we cut this off for a second until he's gone and then cut it back on?
Sure. And
We're back?
action. Yeah, we're back.
All right, we're back. So where were we
Our
in the
friend
story?
went back into this door. You're talking about your doctor friend. It sat on her desk for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it sat there 3 weeks or so, and she happened to be on the phone one day talking to a patient or something, and she was cleaning up her desk, and she forgot, and she picked it up, and she looked at my blood test, and she called me, and she said...
She like shit herself. She's like, oh my God.
She was like, you have a problem. And she was a radiation oncologist, and I was like...
but he's leaving now. He was waiting for his coffee. Now he's leaving.
Okay. So she said, you have a problem, but she didn't really know what it was because she didn't really do blood. She just knew enough to go, you have a real problem.
Right. Knew enough to tell you need to go talk to somebody.
Yeah,
See somebody
and
else.
she sent me to a doctor. This doctor was one of the big doctors on the people behind the scenes at The Biggest Loser to make sure that they're not killing these poor people while they're trying to make them skinny.
Yeah, if I can remember, I need to ask you some questions about The Biggest Loser. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
we'll get to that.
So this is a doctor that's behind the scenes, kind of helping make sure everybody's healthy.
Big time Beverly Hills doctor, the whole thing.
Okay.
They came in and
Wait,
gave
is
me...
he the guy that they used to go into? Has he got red hair and almost looks like an older Bonaducci?
Could possibly. I never watched the show.
Oh, okay.
So I know he was on
camera.
camera.
They would go in and see a doctor, and he reminded me a lot of like an old.
This guy
Danny
looked a little bit
Bonaducci.
like Danny Bonaducci. You're right.
I can't remember his name, but that's
His
fine.
name, I'll tell you his name. Robert Heisinger was the guy's name that I went to.
Yeah, they just called him Dr. H, I think, on the show.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I go to this guy, and he was a good doctor, and he did all these tests, and he was checking my stool, he was urine, the whole thing, and he literally looked at all that, and he said, athletes like yourself, I work with all these athletes. I think you're probably
Just overworking yourself.
overworking, that kind of thing. And so I went back and I was at Patty's house having dinner that night, and I said, "Your friend Heisinger says I'm just working too
Patty
hard."
is the original doctor we were talking about?
She's a radiation oncologist, and she threw her fork in the plate while we were having dinner. She goes, "No, he got it wrong." I said, "Well, Patty, if he got it wrong, what is it?" She goes, "I don't know, but your white blood cells are weird. They're not anywhere close." So she sends me to this uber specialist, this real nerd of a doctor. And all this doctor does is studies blood. She's a hematologist. And Patty described her as being like the Dr. Robert House of doctors.
Of House.
And at this point, I'm like, come on, you sent me to this other expert, and he
Right.
told me I need to take a break. You know, and now you're telling me that. So I go to this other doctor.
You're overreacting, Patty.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Yeah, just take a breather. Let's just all calm. Let's all take a break.
You watch too much TV, Patty.
Yeah, you've been in the business too long,
Yeah.
Patty. You need a break. So she sends me to this woman, Dr. Miller, and Patty shows up. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" She goes, "I'm not leaving here until we find out what's going on."
Oh, God bless you, Patty.
And I'm like, "This is not serious, right?" And she goes, "No, you got a problem." And that was kind of
This is the first time that you realized that this was
Right.
This was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and it was a Thursday, and they look at my preliminary blood test, but they wanted to send some of the other blood off. And I'm sitting there, and I start. This is all in the book. I'm questioning this woman. I'm going. They're both looking at my test, going, "Oh boy." I'm getting a lot of. Ooh.
Really?
Yeah, literally, they're doing that kind of move. And I said, "Look, I have AIDS. Do I have AIDS?"
Like, what do I have? Do I got hepatitis? What's
And
going
she
on?
goes, "Well," she goes, "Any promiscuous sex with men?" And I went, "No, I'm heterosexual." "You ever have sex with drug abusers?" "No, I'm kind of a monogamous guy."
Not that I'm aware of, for sure.
You know, there was that one time in band camp. But, you know, so, you know, I'm like, no. And she goes, "Well, we can't count it out. Blood is way off." And I said, "Do I have one of the HEPs, A, B, C, D, or E, or F?" Or, you know,
Is there a new hep?
yeah, did they invent a HEP like Z?
So I got Hep Vinnie or something?
Yeah,
Like, what's up?
Hep
Am I going to
V.
get a disease named after me? What's going
And
on?
she was like, "Well, we can't count that out." And I said, "Well, do I have?" They go, "I don't know." She goes, and Patty looks at her and she goes, "We gotta, you know what you gotta do?" And she goes, "I don't do them here in the office anymore. I ship it out to Cedars." And Patty goes, "Look, let's just do it now." And she looks at her watch and she goes, "I really don't do it." And, you know, by the time we anesthetize him to do it, and
Are we going to do some bone marrow?
Exactly.
Oh, shit.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
so I said, "What are we doing here?" And she goes, "Bone marrow."
Where do they take that from? Your arm or your
They
spine?
take it
or-
right from the small of your back where you could feel the bone right on your hip.
Okay.
So I said,
That makes sense. That's a pretty wide bone, right?
"Yeah, it's a big, thick bone." And I said, "Well, let's do it." And she goes, "I've already let my nurses go for the day. It's the end of the day."
You're like, I got two doctors here.
And Patty says, "I'll assist. You do it, I will assist."
You know, I said it earlier, but God bless you, Patty.
Yeah, she literally saved my life. So she goes, "Well, we don't have time to anesthetize you." And I said, "We don't need anesthetizing. I can handle a little pain." I wish I had thought about that statement for a moment longer, because she literally dug into my bone with what looks like a 10-penny nail
Oh, damn.
with no anesthetizing. She just went in. And
How was that?
it's painful. It's painful.
Did you lose consciousness?
No, I'm good with pain.
Okay.
You know, I've done a lot. I played football for 13, 14 years. I've broken every bone.
Right.
You know, it was painful. I just put myself in a relaxed trance, and I just dealt with
You
it.
went to your happy place?
Yeah, kind of like, you know, when the priest had me. What? That one time in band camp.
It was a weird camp, priest.
Yeah, priests and nuns and, you know, those shackles and such. But, so yeah, I just sat there. I laid there very calmly, and they went in, and you could hear bones crunching and the whole thing.
Sounds awesome.
I was trying to, you know, you mentioned Adam Carolla earlier. I was trying, he couldn't hear the story. Even when I describe it in the book, he had to fast forward. He was
Nice.
listening to it on
Yeah, he doesn't.
Right.
He's not down with that. My wife is a nurse and has been
Yeah.
for 30 years, and she can't hear that story either. She's not that kind of nurse.
Well, yeah, people have trouble with that. And, the funny part is, when I've had subsequent bone marrow biopsies,
Yeah.
I'm now known as the guy that does it without anesthesia.
Why?
Because I became like a legend in their office.
Oh, so now it's a pride thing.
Yeah, I'm doing all kinds of stuff going. I got to anesthetize myself as much as I can before I walk in.
That's funny.
But they sent it off that day, and there's a cool thing you need to know about doctors. They could get shit back right away. I know they tell you it'll be back on Monday, and they got my results back on Saturday. Now,
And this was a Thursday.
a Thursday.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were able to, quote unquote, expedite.
That's good to know.
Yeah. And so Friday came, I had a hole in my back. They told me not to shower for 24 hours.
You just had a Band-Aid.
Yeah, they had like a thing packing over the hole in my bone. And then on Saturday, I went, well, that's 24 hours. I was out doing a bike ride with
Of course you were.
a hole in my back. So I left from here, and I rode northeast, and I'm so far out, I'm 65 miles or so from right here.
So 65 miles out, like one way, with a hole in your back, 2 days after.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Fascination Street.
Yeah, no kidding. That's the street you were on when you.
Yeah, I was on Idiot Street on that day. My new podcast I'll be starting tomorrow. Thanks for the idea. So my phone started ringing, but I had a flip phone back then, and my
Yeah, it
phone
was
started ringing.
2007.
Yeah, I'm a late adapter to everything.
Sure.
My phone kept buzzing in my back pocket, and everyone knows not to call me on Saturday.
Right. You're writing. You're busy.
That's my day. I take one day for me time.
Sure.
And every other day, 6 days a week, you can get me. Well, the last time my phone kept ringing like that and I was annoyed was 10 years earlier when I learned that my dad had a massive coronary. And
Sorry about that.
I got home well, he ended up living. He's still
Good.
alive. He's still with us.
Well, then I'm not sorry about that.
Well, you got a couple of stents and that kind of thing. But I wish I had picked up the phone that day, because I was out in the mountains that day on a mountain bike, getting ready for a race. And so after the phone rang like a third or fourth time in succession, I knew it was bad news from, I figured my dad or somebody,
sure.
brother got hit by a, go name it, Italians, your mind goes everywhere.
Sure.
And picked up the phone, and it was Patty, and she said, I know you're on your bike. Take a cab and get back to my house as quickly as you can. I'm looking around. I'm in the middle of the Santa Monica Mountains.
Which, for everybody who doesn't live here, there's nothing around. How do you even hail a cab?
When you get out
phone,
into, when you're from San Antonio, you get out way out into those foothills, and you
the hill
weave
country.
around. There's no cab. Where do you tell a cab to come get you on Farm Road? What?
Right. Well, if you try that shit in San Antonio, they'll tell you no.
Well, yeah. I'm like, Patty, I'm 65 miles. Why should I take a cab? Number one. Why can't I ride my bike back to my car? Why? What are we doing here?
Like, what's going on?
And
Do I have AIDS?
Yeah, I asked her. I said, "Can I make it look like an accident? I can.
Yeah.
I'll just go head on into an 18-wheeler on the way back, and at least I die with some dignity and the whole thing, and people won't have to wonder how I got AIDS and the whole thing." And she started crying.
Oh,
And
shit.
holy shit! And the oncologist doesn't cry.
Right.
She goes, "You got to get back here as soon as you can. Get a cab. Don't ride your bike." Well, the first part was ludicrous because
Because you can't get a cab.
I couldn't get a cab.
Sure.
So I just started working my way back to a half a mile from here. Threw my bike in the back. I had an old red Dodge diesel pickup truck.
So you rode back to your car.
I had to.
You didn't really have any options.
I could have, by the time I got 15 miles from here, I could have called the cab, but I'm 15 miles away.
It would have taken them just as long to get
another
to here
45
as
minutes to get
your
to my car,
sure.
right? So I got back to my car. I was hot. I figured it would be my last ride for a while because I had an oncologist
Some
crying.
bad stuff was about to go down. Yeah.
Right. I bet you this is never the podcast you were expecting to have with me.
No, this is awesome.
I'm sorry if I'm ruining it
Oh my
for
God,
you.
you're so not. This
Well,
is what it's all about.
Well, thanks, man. So I get back, and now I have a dilemma in my hands. There's a Starbucks over there, and they had iced coffee, and I was hot.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me grab a Starbucks before I find out I'm dying.
Sure. What'd you get?
I got the same thing I have today,
how
a
dare
large
you.
iced
You're
coffee.
about to die, man. Just go buck wild. Just grab a cup of sugar.
But even dying, I didn't know what to expect or what to think. I was living in hopeful world that,
Right.
they were going to tell me I had the common cold of something.
She's overreacting again.
Yeah, this is Patty. This is what she does. And I was even telling myself things like, she's a redhead. They all overreact.
Sure, that's what they do. It's in their blood.
Yeah, it's what redheads do. Well, one thing leads to another, and I get back to Patty's house, and I see my buddy Andy's car parked out front.
The same Andy from earlier in the
Yeah.
story. Okay.
I only have one friend named Andy. And I'm like, oh shit, Andy's here. She called in the big guns. We got a problem, right? But I had an even bigger problem. I wasn't done drinking my coffee yet. And I was like...
And I didn't bring one for everybody. She's going to be pissed that I didn't come straight over.
Literally, my thought pattern was, she's going to go, you stopped for a coffee?
You rode your bike and then stopped for coffee?
Yeah. So I'm like, do I suck it down and get a brain freeze? Do I leave it here? Yeah, I'm doing all this stuff. Things get real comical when you know.
Anything to think about what's about to happen.
Right. It was going down, and comedy is all I had in my head. So I walked in. I could tell Patty was upset, and Andy is standing behind her, and he's kind of looking at me and then looking away a bit. And I said, Andy, no matter what you guys tell me today,
I'm finishing my coffee. No.
I decided to leave it in the car. I said, no matter what I hear here today, you're still Jewish, you're still bald, and you're still gay.
Nice.
And he goes, what does that have to do with anything? And I said, nothing. But you're still Jewish, you're still bald, and you're still gay. And he goes, and you're still an asshole.
All right.
And when he said that, I went, oh, it can't be that bad.
Because he's joking too.
Yeah, you can't tell a dying man he's an asshole.
Right.
All right, guys. I think that's a good place to stop it for this week. Come back for the next episode, which will be in 2 weeks, and that will be Vinnie Tortorich Part 2. It's a thrilling conclusion. Hey guys, thanks for coming back. This episode is going to be Vinnie Tortorich Part 2, in which he will finish the story of how he found out he had leukemia and what he did about it, and he tells us the story of how he met his lovely lady. Enjoy, guys!
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Comedy is all I had in my head. So I walked in. I could tell Patty was upset. And Andy is standing behind her. And he's kind of looking at me and then looking away a bit. And I said, Andy, no matter what you guys tell me today,
I'm finishing my coffee. No.
I decided to leave it in the car. I said, no matter what I hear here today, you're still Jewish, you're still bald, and you're still gay.
Nice.
And he goes, what does that have to do with anything? And I said, nothing. But you're still Jewish, you're still bald, and you're still gay. And he goes, and you're still an asshole.
All right.
And when he said that, I went, oh, it can't be that bad.
Because he's joking too.
Yeah, you can't tell a dying man he's an asshole.
Right.
Turns out. So yeah, they sat me down, and Patty says, look,
Was she crying again?
she starts choking up right after she says leukemia. Like she's trying to like butter me a little bit.
Right.
And I said, Patty, stop it. Just come
lay it
out
on
with
me.
it. And she chokes back a few and she goes, you got leukemia. And I said, okay, how do we fix this?
Right.
This
What's,
kind of thing.
what's the plan?
What do we do? And she goes, I said, what stage do we know? She goes, it's beyond stage.
What?
Yeah. She's like 85% of your bone marrow
Get the fuck
was
out.
just
Really?
leukemia.
Wow.
And she said, as a
I didn't
matter
see
of
that
fact,
coming.
You. And I said, she goes, I was explaining to some doctors I was talking to earlier that you were on a bike ride, and they said that was impossible because I couldn't.
Nobody this far along.
Yeah, they said, how does
could
he
do
even
that.
swing his leg over a bike? He shouldn't. He doesn't have enough white blood cells. The fact that he's upright is a miracle.
Wow.
The reason she didn't want me to ride my bike was, had I fallen,
You would have just bled out.
I would have bled out. Had I fallen any time in the last 2 or 3 months,
Wow.
bicyclists fall from time to time.
Often,
Yeah.
some might say.
Had anything happened,
You could have fallen getting out of the shower.
yeah, but with the biggest possibility of falling
Would be riding the bike.
is the bicycle.
Right.
At any point, I could have hurt myself. Hell, I go trail running when I'm not on the bike. I trip more trail running than anywhere else.
Sure.
I would have just died. I didn't have any platelets in my blood, no white blood cells, nothing. I was done. One doctor described my blood as looking like Kool-Aid. He goes, Kool-Aid has more.
So when they say blood is thicker than water, yours wasn't.
Not in this case.
Wow.
It was not good. And I said, okay, so what's the plan of action?
Now, up to this point, had you been no sugar, no grain? Like,
With my clients, yes, and in the off season for me, yes. But I was a full-on believer that when you're on the bike,
you need
You ha-
protein. You need.
you need more sugar. You need,
Okay.
I used to use my own method with all of my Hollywood clients and in my own off season.
But for
and I was a
big
big
races-
meat eater, but on a day
For big
of
races, are you doing pasta and shit like that? Or?
yeah, I would pasta feed the night before and
Okay.
use sugar to get me through a race because it's
Like
convenient and
those
easy.
squirt sugar things?
Yeah, I would try to do a step better than
Goo
that.
or whatever it's called?
I would literally use things like Lifesavers because
Okay.
it's the same thing. It's cheaper, and you can measure a Lifesaver. You can't measure a goo.
Right.
You just squirt a big wad in your mouth.
Yeah.
And you know
Sounds
with a
dirty when you
Lifesaver.
say it, but yeah. But you can just pop a lifesaver whenever.
Yeah, and
Right.
cheek and gum, just like Walt Garrison. And does anyone know who Walt Garrison
Nobody
is?
does.
He used to do Skoal and Copenhagen ads on television back
Oh,
when you
okay.
could do that.
Sort of like the Marlboro Man, but for Skull.
He was a football player back in my day.
Okay.
I'm Walt Garrison. I just put a pinch between my
Really?
cheek and my gums, and I get
Oh.
rolling. I
Pinch
figure
between
every
the cheek and
Texan knew
gum.
who Walt Garrison was.
Wow. Maybe older ones.
Yeah. So
Who do you play for?
he played for everyone back in the day. He was one of those guys that would run over you. I
Okay.
think he might have played for North Dallas,
Gotcha.
or the Dallas Cowboys, as they
Sure.
call them now. I'm dating the shit out of myself.
Well, maybe everybody in Texas does, but I stopped paying attention to football when the Oilers left Houston.
Yeah,
I was done.
yeah. A friend of mine played for the Houston Oilers. Donnie Maggs. We played.
Really?
Yeah.
We had a San Antonio High School quarterback was Warren Moon's backup. I think his name was Cody Carlson.
We could go off into that all day. But Patty said, yeah, I've already made some phone calls over to Cedars. They're going to put a PICC line in you on Monday, and they're going to start delivering
That's the
chemo.
port, right?
Yeah, the port that goes in your arm and into your chest, and they're going to start loading you up with chemo on Tuesday. And when she said chemo, that affected me, and you may get this, that affected me more than hearing leukemia.
Right. Chemo is an even bigger C word.
Yeah, it really is, because I watched my grandmother, who died of cancer. I watched chemo just eat her to death.
Yeah, when you see it.
And when you see it and live it and smell it, you smell death.
Yeah.
The person begins to smell like death. And that got me when she said the chemo word. And
There's so many points where you thought it got real, and then it just keeps getting realer. And
it gets
realer.
more real. And now Patty is crying, and Andy doesn't know which way to look. So I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Calling the guys I was riding bikes with, because I would have different people meet me throughout the day that ride with me, keep me company.
Right.
And
They peel off, and then somebody else will join you.
Right.
Because they're not doing this crazy 300-mile thing.
as a matter of fact, the guys I was with when I found out, they called me Moses because they were Jewish. And
Probably still are.
They're still Jewish. They're both still alive, Jonathan and Steve. They called me Moses because I would lead Jews through the desert every Saturday. We're basically in a desert. And we joked and called me Moses. And so I said, well, I got to call the Jews. And I called Jonathan and Steve and said, hey, guys, we're having a party tonight. And they go, party? What are you talking about? It's a cancer party. And I know you guys have called me Ron and all the other guys that I rode with earlier in the day. So I need to call all those guys because I knew my whole little community now knew just how that something was wrong with me.
Right.
And the only way I could keep myself calm was to rally those guys and go, let's go fucking drink tonight and eat Italian food. And that's what we did. We commandeered a restaurant. There was about 8 or 9 of us. Kind of like Jesus Christ. I had the Last Supper.
Very cool.
Yeah. For an atheist.
You moved up from Moses to Jesus.
Yeah, give me time. I'll
On
be
your
gone
way
in a minute.
out. No kidding.
You know, we got together and I explained to everyone. Patty was there. Andy was there. As a matter of fact, I think I might have... Mehran grew up Jewish in Tehran, but he's an atheist like me. I think everybody at the table except Mehran's wife was Jewish. Now that I think about it. So it was like the last.
It was exactly like that.
And
everybody focusing on the one dude in the middle. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we're going to kill this guy tomorrow. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it was just so ironic.
Somebody should have took a picture, man.
We're all leaning in. You know, I needed to shave that day. So yeah, it was probably
That's
pretty
funny.
close to reality. And there were some tears around the table that night. It was kind of weird. Although I didn't shed any tears. My biggest concern that night was, how do I talk to my parents? Because they still didn't know. When I left that restaurant that night, I am not a believer in drinking and driving. I'm 2 drinks. I'm not a guy that fills it up at my house. I'm 2 legal drinks, and that's it.
That's enough. You're not trying to lose consciousness. You're just trying to take the edge off.
Yeah, and that night I had more than 2 legal drinks. And I was a mile from my house. Anyone that knows LA, I lived in Beverly Hills, in the hills. I had to drive from the restaurant 1 mile on Mulholland back to my house.
At night, presumably.
At night, curvy road. If you ever seen the show Heart to Heart,
Yeah.
they were always zooming through there, and right before the car went off the cliff.
Right.
But it was late enough, and I figured if I killed anyone, I would be killing me. There would be no one else on that road, which is not an excuse for driving drunk. But it was the one time in my life where I was over the legal limit, and I drove that 1 mile home, and I felt awfully alone that night, just awfully alone. So drove back, and I realized that none of my friends could help me, that this was just me alone, and that's it. That's all that was going to happen. And I got home, went to bed, woke up that next day, did not get on the bike, and just started figuring out how to tell my parent that I had leukemia, but according to my doctors, I have what they're calling the common cold of leukemia, meaning they're going to take care of this with vitamin C pretty much, because I didn't want to worry them. In hindsight, that was the wrong thing to do, even though I lived, because when the book eventually came out, they were very, very upset. They saw the severity of the cancer from the book.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure they appreciated that you didn't want to worry them, but at the same time, they probably would like to have been a little more prepared and in the know. I get that.
You know, watching my mom take care of her mother and going through that, I didn't want her to have to see it with one of her kids, especially if death was at the end of it. So, you know, I kept it away from that.
Well, I mean, cool. Was that a rough phone call when they read the book? They were like, "Hey, what's up? You lied to me."
Well, no, my dad, when I went home, I was home at some point after I wrote the book. And my dad, the book was sitting on the coffee table. And it was dog-eared. My parents are both very academic types. My dad's a doctorate. My mom's got 2 or 3 masters plus 30 hours towards doctorates. They're prolific readers. And the book was, you could tell, was dog-eared a lot, just open. And I said, "Oh, you like my book? Did I do okay?" And my dad said, "Yeah, I've read it now 3 times." And I said, "Oh, why?" And he goes, the parts of your life, you raise a kid and the whole thing. He goes, there was a lot I didn't realize that was going on in that Catholic school that you just poured out in this book. And I did Dad, look, I wrote the book like no one would ever read it. I never thought it would get published. And, I wish I could crank some of that back. I didn't realize you guys would ever read the book.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, and the cancer thing, he goes, I keep reading that part over and over. He goes, I can't believe you wouldn't tell us. And you would get on the phone with us once a week. And he goes, how did you pull it together? I said, that was the toughest part. Because I would have to wait. You may remember this with your mom. Sometimes you have these high points.
Right.
When you have this island of feeling good.
Right, and everybody around you sees that and thinks it's all it's all smooth sailing, but then comes the valleys.
Yeah, the valleys
where you feel like you're not even gonna fucking make it to tomorrow.
Oh, man, those days, I talk about that in the book too. I would wait for the peak moments to call my parents when my voice sounded good, and that kind of thing, because I was on constant chemo. And one night I had a chemo pump hooked to me that was pumping 24 hours a day at first. And this woman, she was a pretty famous actress, girl I dated for a while before Serena. Serena hates the story.
I'm sure.
But we hadn't dated for a few years, but we were still good friends.
Which must be a California thing, because
yeah,
nobody I know is friends with any of their exes. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, we weren't. We dated, but we weren't like. We weren't. We knew the relationship wasn't right, but we loved. Gotcha. The sexual part of it was good for us, and the whole thing. And so, a lot of those women started coming around. Like everyone thought I was dying, so it was kind of like, let's go visit him.
Say goodbye, man.
Yeah. It's this weird, morbid thing. And you're happy to see them, because you're just on chemo. And like I say, cancer doesn't hurt, but boy, chemo is a motherfucker.
Right.
And we'll call her Kathy for the sake of this story. She came over one night because I was doing my chemo at this point at Patty's house, at the doctor's house. And she's got this beautiful home in Bel Air, and they cordoned off a section for me. And if you're going to be on chemo, this is kind of how you want to do it.
Sure.
Have famous doctor friends.
In a nice, comfortable environment.
Yeah.
Right.
And
not sitting around a bunch of other depressed, sick people.
Oh, I had to do that sometime. Oh, my God. I'm sure your mom had to do it, where you have to go into the cancer ward with the drip and the thing.
Well, once they diagnosed my mom, they admitted her.
Yeah.
And she never left that bed. Like she didn't have to go to chemo with other people. Chemo came to her. She never left that
She
bed.
was in that bed.
Yeah.
You know how depressing those wards are, man. Again, you want to talk real. God damn it, man.
So let's skip to the part about how you got into remission. So the chemo worked? Was it a combination of things? What happened? Because,
the chemo...
You went from having one white blood cell to you're still alive now. It's been 10 years.
The thing that really saved my life...
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah, I'm at 10 years.
Good job.
Well, actually, I learned about it now, but I wasn't cured until 2008.
Okay.
So that's kind of where the anniversary is.
Gotcha. All right.
And so,
Well, let me be the first to say.
well, thank you. This is around the anniversary of when I found out.
Okay.
The thing that kept me alive was a drug that kept Lance Armstrong alive, oddly enough, made by Amgen,
What was it?
Neupogen.
Neupogen. Not Neulasta, but Neupogen.
Neulasta is a version of Neupogen.
Okay. That's what helped Brian. Paul Brian.
Is he on Neulasta?
I don't know if he still is, but I mean that's his claim. He speaks like he's a spokesperson for them sometimes.
Yeah, Neulasta is a white blood cell. It builds up your white blood cells. Taking the amount, I had to shoot it in me. It was $1,500 every time I stuck that needle in my thigh.
Do you not have insurance? Or that
Oh, I had insurance, but I was well aware of what everything cost.
Sure, I'm sure you were.
To keep me alive cost over $250,000, $500,000 or something like that.
Let me ask you this: do you think it was worth it?
No. The world could have done without me. But you look at that and you go, holy shit, this little bit of stuff that I'm sticking in my thigh every day. Neupogen hurts more than chemo.
Jesus.
What?
Well, it's just a never-ending. Hurts more than this. It hurts
Yeah,
more
because
than that.
Neupogen is falsely creating white blood cells.
Right,
It
it's
makes
just
your
a
hip bones and all your
multiplicity.
bones feel like they're breaking from the inside out.
Gotcha.
I don't know how Neulasta works, but Neupogen makes you feel 1,000,000 years old.
Okay.
And I'll never forget that night. I was talking about the actress that came over. She hung out with me.
Kathy.
Yeah, we called her Kathy. Kathy, we started messing around. I had a chemo pump in me that night, going into my heart, going into my
Arm.
Arm?
Yeah. Into your chest.
and we had sex.
Okay.
And I talked about that in the book because,
Can't imagine why Serena doesn't like this story.
yeah, it was the first time I had sex in like 6 or 8 or 10 months, because part of the problem was I wasn't even able to get it up anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
That was another thing I was claiming the bike had taken away
blood is a
from me.
big part of that equation.
Yeah, and all of a sudden one night somehow I had an erection. And I looked around and went,
What are we gonna do with this?
this might be the last time I ever have sex before I die.
Right.
And, with all the pain from the Neupogen and the chemo and feeling nauseous all the time and everything, somehow there was this moment. And that's when I knew I was going to die, because I said, as an atheist, whatever God is up there, he wants me to get laid one more time before I go.
This was your red fox clutching your heart. I'm coming.
I'm coming, Elizabeth. This is it. I'm done. And I'll never, I that's why I wrote it in the book. I never forgot that. And I never forgot, quote unquote, Kathy, who was there that night. And she ended up staying the whole night. And
It's probably to make sure she didn't kill you.
yeah, and we laughed about it. She was like, did I just have sex with a guy that has a chemo pump hooked to him? I went, yeah.
You're like, yeah, how cool is that?
Yeah, look at us. And I think we both had this weird realization that she was sleeping with a dead man and I was going to die.
Wow. So
Sorry to bring this whole fascination podcast down, but
how long were you on all this heavy treatment?
cancer, all of that lasted a couple of months tops, and then it was the big long wait to see if it worked. That gets a little nerve-wracking.
Right.
I had a feeling I was doing better because I was getting energy back.
Okay. Which is kind of a weird tell, because you had energy when you were the sickest. Before you knew you were sick, you had a ton of energy. So.
I didn't. I was going downhill, but I was just somehow mentally. You know how people mentally walk off of Everest when they should have been dead, and mentally.
Sure. Yeah.
I was willing myself forward and shouldn't have been able to. But once the Neupogen treatment
One of those
stopped,
things where you don't, what you don't know you can't do, or whatever it is.
Right.
Whatever that saying is.
But then after they put all this chemical in you, as soon as that started clearing out, they were doing some blood tests on me, and your blood's coming around. They would do some bone marrow biopsies, and it looks like it's killed off some, but it's still working in there.
Right.
All this kind of stuff, and I had a feeling I was going to make it. I met Serena.
Good. I was going to ask how you met Serena.
At that same Starbucks.
For everybody who's listening, Serena, she was a Bond girl. She's a nice looking lady. How did y'all meet?
She's one of the most beautiful women on the planet.
She's
And I have no idea what she's doing with me, to be honest with you. We met before I found out I had cancer through a friend, just high and goodbye.
Year, though, right? Like 2007.
Early 2007.
Like okay.
We met at that same Starbucks that I ride from over at the Commons.
Okay.
And
Y'all really just met at Starbucks?
we met through a friend. I was going on a bike ride with a friend.
Setup?
No, she was coming in from a run
Okay.
with a friend who knew my friend,
Got you.
who I was riding the bikes with, and they said hi and goodbye, but no one said Bond girl. No one said. She had like big Oakleys in her, and
Yeah,
she had
she
like
had
a
just been running.
hat. Yeah, I just knew she looked cute.
Sure.
You know, she's the statuesque redhead at the time. She had kind of blondish red hair, and I was like, wow, who was that? My buddy was like, it was a girlfriend buddy. She goes, oh, her name is Serena or something. I know her from the school. So then my friend asked about Serena. Turns out Serena was dating someone, and I never thought about her again or anything. I just moved on.
For the sake of the story, let's say she was dating an actor named Kathy.
She was dating, yeah, she was a lesbian dating Kathy. I love you, sissy. It's like a mini Dean Laurie I'm talking to.
Fantastic.
So cancer happened, and then I was getting into remission. I'm at the same Starbucks with my buddy Mehran from earlier in the story that was at the Last Supper.
Right.
We walk out of that Starbucks, and there's two women sitting at a table just like this. And Mehran stopped to say hi to him. And I didn't recognize Serena from the time before because now she's dressed differently.
Right. I mean, she had just got through running, and she was
Right.
wearing her running gear, and she was all covered up and sweaty.
So we're talking for a few minutes, and tangentially I'd known Lisa, the other woman, who was with her the time before.
Right.
And I said hi to Lisa. I said, oh, how's your kids? I haven't seen them since they were in the strollers years ago and the whole thing. And I mentioned, I said, yeah, you had a friend with you running like a year ago, and I thought she was cute, and turns out she was with the boyfriend.
Did you say all this in front of her?
In front of Serena, and she
That's
points to
awesome.
Serena. I went, oh my God, was it you? And she goes, yeah. And I said, do you still have a boyfriend? She goes, yeah. But she found a reason to give me her card before we walked away. So I took that as a sign of give her a call.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
Here's the
Was
interesting.
her card just that little cat that's hanging on a tree limb, and it just is hanging there?
Yeah. It was actually a real estate card.
Okay.
Because that's what actresses do when they turn 45. They become real estate agents.
Sure.
And
So they got the connections. They might as well use them.
yeah. So I called her, and she said that, look, yeah, there's not common knowledge. I'm not really seeing this guy anymore. And she goes, I'm not ready to date. I said, would you go out as a friend? You know, and she goes, do you really mean that? I said, look, I might not be alive. You don't know this about me, but I'm going through a remission right now, and I'm not really ready to date, but I can sure use some company and a friend
Right,
and just
just a
hang
good
out
time.
all day. And she said, you know what? You seem like an honest guy and the whole thing, and you know Mehran and you know Lisa, and they all say you're a great guy. Sure, let's go grab lunch or dinner one night. Here's the odd part. I was riding with one of the Jews. When I say Jews, one of the guys I called John. I was riding with Jonathan that Saturday. I wasn't in remission yet. I was taking short rides. And Jonathan says, what are you doing for dinner? Why don't you come with Wendy and me? And I said, I can't. I have kind of a date with a mommy from the school that your daughter goes to.
Sure.
He goes, oh, who is she? I don't know. I have her card. Her name is Serena, something amalgamated, like Thomas Scott, something. I don't know.
Right. Some string of names.
Yeah, it's like she must have been married to a guy and she still has the name. He goes, no, you don't. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, there's no way she's going out with you.
You said, first of all, thanks.
Yeah, I said, well, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about?
First, thanks, and second, F off.
Yeah, I was like, she seems to like me enough. He goes, you know who she is, right? And I said,
You said, obviously, since I barely know her last name.
I said, I don't even know her last. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. He goes, she's a Bond girl. I said, what are you talking about?
And you go, like, for bail bonds? He's like, no, like 007 Bond girl.
Yeah, he goes, she was in The World Is Not Enough. And I went, come on. And he goes,
Her
hey,
name
she
was
don't
like,
date guys like
It
you.
was, hold on, wait. It was something like Warm Flash.
She was Dr. Molly Warmflash.
Warm Flash. That's a hilarious name.
So I said, come on, Johnny, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, my kid's in her kid's class. He goes, I said, so someone else I know knows this woman and I had never met her?
He's like, everybody knows this one.
Yeah, he was like, her sister's like it's been up for Oscars. Her sister's
Oh, really? Who's your sister?
Kristen Scott Thomas.
Oh, okay, cool.
Horse Whisperer, English Patient.
Gotcha.
4 Weddings and a Funeral. I mean, I'm like, first I'm breaking a rule because other than Kathy, quote unquote,
Right.
I don't date actresses.
Right.
Because they're all nutty.
There's
and-
reasons. We
So-
don't have to go into them.
So now I'm like, okay, this is going to be one and done because it's a friendly date anyway. And So I went home and I Googled her. And this is
That's worse than going on to like the doctor.com or whatever it is. Web doctor.
that's the one thing they tell every cancer patient. Don't go home and Google what you have.
Yeah, don't do this.
That's the worst thing you can ever do. This is the second worst thing, is to go home and Google someone you're going to dinner with. Turns out Google was just picture upon picture, and her with Bruce Willis and her with this and that and the whole thing. And I'm like, shit. Okay, it's a friendly date. I'm one and done. But I Googled just enough to find out that she's the great-great-great-grandniece of Robert F. Scott.
Who's Robert F. Scott?
The great explorer.
No, that was good. Wait, was he a sailor explorer? Like on a
He
boat?
sailed, but he
Did he go
also
like to the North Pole?
he was trying to be the first person to reach the South Pole.
Okay, South
He
Pole.
did a couple of expeditions. And as an ultra cyclist, as an ultra guy, we are fascinated with
Right.
people who go the distance.
Right, like what is it? The Krakauer dude, right?
Krakauer follows a lot of people like that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Krakauer puts his own fiction on it, but yes.
Sure.
And I was more fascinated that she was a relative. That's how they kept the name Scott as part of her last name.
Gotcha.
The British thought that was important.
Sort of like what was his name? F. Scott Fitzgerald. Do you know who
Yeah.
that is, right?
Yeah.
You know who his grandfather was?
No.
Francis Scott Key.
Well, yeah.
So they keep the F. Scott.
They keep
right.
the F. Scott.
Sure.
Yeah, so that always makes sense. For me, it was, oh my God, I get to dinner that night, and
It's just questions about.
I'm like, do they talk about your uncle? Because his
Do
famous.
they talk about the monkey? Does that ever come up?
Well, yeah, where does that fit in? Because his famous phrase is, "I may be a while."
That's him?
That's him. He walked out of camp,
Cool.
to go to the bathroom. He goes, "I'm going to be in repose, and I may be a while." And he never returned. He froze, and he never came back.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask, because when I thought he went to the North Pole, I was going to ask, is he the dude who just kind of wandered off from camp and then he just disappeared?
He disappeared.
It was South Pole.
In the South Pole. The guy that tried to make it to the North Pole was Shackleton.
Okay.
Shackleton, great. If you ever want to go down Nerd City, go find Shackleton stories.
one of my wife's friend's husband somehow either knows that dude or knows somebody who knows that dude. So I'm pretty sure
he still has relatives alive today, because that was around World War I when Shackleton did his voyage. And that's why it wasn't romanticized as much, because we were romanticizing war at the time.
Right.
Again, I don't want to go down Nerd Street because I'll never come back.
Sure. It's Fascination, not Nerd Street.
Yeah, it's Fascination Street. But
so
yeah.
how did she take that? Was she like, what's with all the questions, dude?
She,
Or was she like, finally somebody's not asking me about James Bond?
right. We didn't even bring up acting that night and it wasn't love at first sight. I had a red Corvette at the time,
Was it a little one?
It was brand new. It still had the new car smell. Turns out she wasn't into Corvettes.
Because of what they say about the people who drive them?
Pretty much, and she wasn't into me for whatever reason.
Well, you're about to die. Why get into you?
She thought I was a greasy Italian.
Really?
Yeah. She I don't know. She like everything about me, but she called me a few days later. We talked a few days later, and then we went away from that for a bit, and then we tried to have another date, and it really didn't work. And then I kind of walked away from it a bit, and she walked away. But somehow we knew that we were both going to be in Mammoth on a ski trip, like about a month later. And she called me when I was on my way up there. She was like, "Are you coming to Mammoth?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm driving up right now with Jonathan."
I'm in my car you don't like.
Yeah, I know you don't drive that car up to
Oh,
Mammoth.
yeah, okay.
I was in my little Jeep, and I said, "Yeah, I'm coming up with Jonathan." And we ended up skiing a little bit together, and that was kind of the beginning of it.
Was it a classic meet cute? Y'all got stuck on a ski lift, just the two of you for hours?
It was more that she didn't ski quite as well as I did, and she knew that I was frustratingly keeping up with her, and she was like, "Well, if this guy is willing to do this," because I found, like no other actress, you could talk to this woman, she's well-read.
Serena?
Yeah, she's very, very smart. You could talk about anything, and we started getting in, and she's a nerd too.
Okay.
You know, we started nerding out on different books and different stuff we were into. It turns out she grew up in the country, in the English countryside. So she loved the smell of horse shit as much as I did. And
So she's from England? Or
she's British.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're British. And we had some similarities to when we got back to LA. We kind of had a real date or two, and then they kind of stuck.
So y'all bonded enough in Mammoth to, move forward once you got back.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's fascinating.
And so y'all been together for 10 years-ish?
Yeah, well.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, we met in early 2008.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, late 2007, going into 2008. So somewhere around January of that year, yes.
That's cool.
And I was actually on that trip to Mammoth. We went to a party. It was New Year's Eve, and I got cock blocked from Serena at the party by Jeff Bridges. Not Jeff Bridges, Bo Bridges.
Bo Bridges?
Yeah. And he doesn't know that he cock blocked me, but he did.
Well, he also doesn't care. I'm sure he doesn't care.
He was upset. I was told Serena invited Jonathan and me to this party, not as her date, but hey, there's going to be a party.
Right.
And this guy makes this incredible chili. He's some producer that she worked with on a
So
movie.
did you say chili?
Chili.
Okay.
So he's known for his chili. He's got this beautiful house up in Mammoth. So we went, okay, I'll go up to that house.
I like chili as much as the next guy, and also a hot girl who invites me to a party.
So she's mingling around the party, and there's guys chasing her left and right.
Sure.
Because she's Serena. And I'm kind of laying back. I just want to watch and see what happens. And some guy asked my buddy Jonathan, "Hey, is she with that wop over there, that guy?" And Jonathan goes, "No." Because officially I wasn't with her.
Sure.
But I mean, you know, where's your wingman when you need him?
Thanks, John.
Yeah, say, well, you know. So I see this guy like chasing Serena around the party. So I went, I'm gonna just let that, you know, cool itself out for a bit. And she's looking at me, and I'm winking at her, and she's like, "Help me!" And I was like, "You're on your own. You know, go enjoy yourself." You know,
I'm at the zoo. Knock yourself out. I'll just watch.
I walk over into the kitchen, and I go to this chili and scoop myself a bunch of chili, and I put it in the plate, and I'm sprinkling the crushed onions on top and
Was it good?
cheese.
Was it really good?
Well,
He's like, I don't know.
I turn around, and I'm like in the crux of this kitchen.
Yeah.
And I turn around, Bo Bridges is in my face. And he's got these big eyebrows.
Yeah, bushy like a sumbitch.
And they're like bouncing up and down. He goes, how you doing? Hey, Bo, pleasure to meet you, man. I'm a big fan. And he goes, yeah, pleasure to meet you. He goes, you going to eat that? I went, yeah, I was planning on it. Would you like it?
Like, that's an odd question.
He goes, no, I don't want it. And I said, I haven't touched it yet. I make me another one. Like, I put the onions and the cheese on it. You can take this one. I'll make another one. You know, he goes, nah, I don't eat dead carcass.
Jesus
And I went, oh boy, here we go.
well, what the fuck are you doing here, man?
Because he's friends with the producer, I guess, or something. They're old friends.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
So I went,
So this dude's a vegetarian?
or vegan, one or two.
I thought they were thinner.
Yeah, he that was the only thing I kept, because Bo Bridges, as it turns out, is a close talker. Like, he gets in
Right.
your face, and the only thing that separates me from Bo
It's his stomach.
is his distended gut, as he tells me how this chili's going to kill me.
Gotcha.
And he's going on, and now Serena is looking at me being cock-blocked by Bo Bridges while this little nebbishy guy is chasing her around the party. Now she's going, fuck
Nebbishy
you.
guy. Was it John Lovitz?
Literally, John Love. It was more like, I'm not kidding. Who's the little guy that was in? God, he Ghostbusters and everything else. Moranis, Rick Moranis. Literally, she's got Rick Moranis chasing her around.
Not actually Rick.
Not Rick, but
might as well.
If,
Right,
yeah,
sure.
if they were
Rick
going to
Moranis.
cast this part,
Central casting, Rick Moranis.
right? Well, I'm laughing at her because Rick Moranis is chasing her around the party. Meanwhile, I'm being cock-blocked by Bo Bridges, the actual Bo Bridges.
That's funny.
And he like,
Being carcass blocked.
yeah, I'm like, and now I'm like, I can't eat the chili. Like, I put it on the counter behind me, but I'm in the crux of this, you know, I can't get out.
He's still chapping you, giving you the lecture.
Yeah,
You're
and
like,
he's telling me
so
how
you
meat's
don't want
going
it
to
then?
kill me, and, you know, rotting carcass and pus in your system and all the vegan talk. And I'm saying to Serena, I'm doing the help, give me help. And now she's going, fuck you, fair play.
Yeah,
you
she's
know.
like, haha,
Because
motherfucker.
apparently she knew Bo Bridges because they lived in the same neighborhood.
Right.
So I'm like,
she knew what was happening.
yeah, she knew
That's great.
I'm getting the chili talk from Bo or something. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And now it's coming up on midnight. And it's like, well, I was planning on trying to get a kiss out of this girl at
Right.
midnight. She's walking out to the balcony with Rick Moranis. And
She's gonna throw this motherfucker off the balcony.
I found out later what he was doing. He had no game, but apparently he had a lot of money. So he took her out because this house was on a mountain.
He wanted to point at it.
He was pointing down the valley going, okay, you see that light, 5 lights from the end? Count 5 in. That's my house.
Nice.
He's playing the that's my second home in Mammoth game to try to get her.
Well, that always works.
Yeah, hot chicks love when you do
Yeah,
that.
they love that. So all over the internet, they talk about how cancer doctors their whole goal is to just take your money and then kill you. And so what you need to do is eat this and eat that and just
Right.
for the doctors. You are a food guy. You're a fitness guy.
Right.
you believe that certain foods do certain things,
Right.
but you are also a cancer survivor. So I guess my ass clown for thinking they're full of shit.
They're full of shit. Modern medicine saved my life.
Okay.
I would have been dead in weeks. Modern medicine saved my life. There's connections to certain antioxidants that can help, ward off cancer. There's connections to sugar being something that could accelerate cancer.
Right.
Things like smoking and alcohol will not help you if you have cancer. And I have a firm belief in all that. A woman just died a while back. She used to blog, a couple of weeks ago, she used to blog about how she would forego any kind of cancer treatment and just, juice and do all this stuff. Didn't save her life. As a matter of fact, towards the end, she went, okay, fuck this, and she went for treatment, but they said, too little, too late.
Too late.
Bob Marley,
I was going to bring up Bob Marley. He did the same thing.
he had toe cancer. They could have just chopped off his toe, but Bob Marley, people don't realize this, as I always say, all rock and rollers want to be famous athletes. He thought he could make it as a soccer player, and if you lose a toe, you lose some balance.
Right.
So instead of cutting the toe off, which would have saved his life, he went with all these naturalists and people
this holistic
juicing and all this stuff. And in the 11th hour, when he went...
Didn't he fly to Germany or something?
I think Zurich or somewhere. Yeah, he went to either there or Switzerland, and he had all the money in the world.
Didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Waited too long.
Dead.
All right.
So those are two prime examples of, if you got cancer, we have chemicals that will kill that cancer. So I would say that those guys are ass clowns.
All right. Cool. I just I wanted a more informed opinion.
Look, I'm just a guy. I'm not a doctor.
I get
I'm just
that.
a guy with cancer.
I get that, but you're more informed in all of those things than I am.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But when mine is going to come back, because they knocked it. It was supposed to come back within 5 years, but they would catch it early enough to where they would only have to give me a small amount of chemo to knock it back, because they knocked it into a chronic position.
A stasis, sort of?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going on 10 years
Good job.
of remission.
And how often are you getting checked?
I get checked now
Quarterly?
twice a year.
Twice, okay.
Yeah, I was on the quarterly, and then I was on every 6 weeks is what? That's not quarterly. 9 weeks is quarterly.
12 is quarterly.
I was on 6 weeks, and then it went to 9 weeks, and then it went to
Got it.
12, and then
Now you
it
use
went
it twice
to
a year.
twice a year. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. I don't think I have anything else. Like I said, I know you got to go somewhere. But real quick, can you tell everybody where? Because I know you have a podcast.
I do, and I would love to have you. I'm officially inviting you to come on the Saturday show if you'd like to come on. It would help you plug this show, because I think what you're doing here is good work.
This Saturday?
No, any Saturday. But it's
Can I
the Saturday
call in?
show.
Would I be able to call?
Yeah, you just
Cool.
Skype
Yeah,
me.
absolutely. I appreciate that.
Nobody comes in. Everyone just Skypes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Adam's done the show. I Skyped him in.
All right, great. He loves Skype.
Yeah.
Boy, he hates Skype.
He said, hey, can we do it in the studio? And I'm like, I run it every 2 weeks. How about you just call me while you're walking your big fat lab?
So what's the name of your podcast?
It's called Fitness Confidential, the same as
Just
my
like the
book,
book.
Fitness Confidential. People connect with me on Twitter. I'm there all day, every day. I think that's how you found me.
And it's at Vinnie Tortorich.
At Vinnie Tortorich, Twitter. I'm just out there. You can Google me. I have purevitaminclub.com is my vitamin company. I don't push them on anyone. They're there if you want vitamins. If you don't, you know.
How long have you been doing that?
3 years.
Okay, so you've been doing that for 3 years, and I think I've heard about it only like maybe 2 or 3 times in the last 6 months. So that's how much you don't push it on people. You've been on the Roll Show probably 20 times or more.
Oh, God. I've been on we could probably do the math. I've been on every other week for the past year and 3/4.
Okay, so 60 times.
Yeah, I've been on there a lot.
And like I said, you only mentioned it like 3 times. I mean, you really don't push that on people.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Adam started using them more. Dr. Drew quietly uses them. I think he advertises something else.
Yeah.
But Gary said, why don't you push the vitamins more? Because Gary takes them, his fiance takes them, everyone around. And by the way, they get them for free. Joya, his fiance, they buy them. They belong to Pure Vitamin Club, and
Cool.
people love it because I make the only product that has no fillers, no excipients.
So is this is it catered to individuals, or is it kind of a sort of a, I guess this mix is good for everybody kind of a thing?
It's made for everyone. We're talking about coming up with a kid's formula at some point.
Okay.
But it's made for everyone, and it's the purest vitamin on the planet. Period.
Tell us about your B12.
We did look when we did the multivitamin. We did something that never existed. We pulled out every excipient and flow agent, and just gave people whole, real vitamins. It doesn't exist in the world except in my product. Some companies are pretending to copy it now because we've had such success with it, but they're not. The B12, what we've done there,
Is it sublingual?
it's sublingual. There's no sugar. There's no byproducts. We connected it to a calcium, never been done before. We had to create special equipment at the factory to do it because no one else in the world was doing this. Again, it took us a year longer than we thought because no one said it could be done. We had to create equipment to make what we're doing. And very proud of that product. And of course, we have the magnesium product, which Dr. Drew is all over.
And I think you were telling Adam he needs to get on the magnesium.
Yeah, he had it in his house, but hey Lynette, where is it? Oh, where's my?
Yeah, his house sounds like just complete chaos.
Believe it or not, it's not. They run that. His house runs really well. He complains a little bit about it, but
Sure.
Lynette is a great woman. I love her to death. Olga, I'm pretty sure runs the place.
Right.
From what I could tell, very smart woman. But yeah, they have a good life over there.
So, your first book is Monty. That's a children's book, right?
It is not in print. I'm told that sometimes it goes for as high as $50 on eBay.
Why don't you do a second printing? Do you own it?
I bought the rights back,
Okay.
and we thought about doing it. Serena, one of the things Serena does is she reads a lot of books.
Yeah.
Serena does a lot of VOs.
She does a lot of audiobook reading.
Audiobook reading.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find Serena Scott Thomas all over the place doing audio.
Oh, so you're going to get her to do it?
I'm thinking about getting her to voice it.
Yeah.
And I might put it on Amazon and on Audible that way, just to see if there's interest. And if there's interest, I might do a printing because I bought it back from the publisher.
Right.
With the money I made from the book, I bought the book back.
Well, that's awesome.
And I own the artwork.
That's
I
really
own all
cool.
of the artwork from Monty.
Oh, good.
That's worth more than anything else.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you're lucky enough to find one, pick
Yeah.
it up. And it's called Monty, M-O-N-T-Y.
Yeah.
And it's a children's book. The other book is Fitness Confidential.
That's the one. That's the Schmega bestseller.
That's the big deal.
Yeah, it was up for Audible Book of the Year.
Awesome.
I'm very proud of that book. It still sells. It's almost 5 years now. It sells like hotcakes still on Amazon, which is shocking to me. And I have to give Adam
It's interesting
Carolla.
that you use the hotcakes analogy since you kind of recommend people
I tell people not
don't
to eat hotcakes. Yeah.
I was at an airport, on the way here the other day. I was at an airport place having breakfast, and I ordered scrambled eggs, bacon, and sausage. I told them to throw away the hotcakes and throw away the potatoes. Just don't give them to me.
Yeah.
And then I had coffee, and I asked for cream. Like for my second cup, I just kind of held up the pitcher, kind of hey. And she brought me a pitcher of syrup instead. So I just drank up that coffee. I just started laughing.
Yeah, people don't get, especially in the South where you live. If you ask for tea, usually it naturally comes sweetened.
Yeah, you have to say not sweet. And boy, did they put a lot of sugar in.
Especially if you get down to Houston, which is basically Louisiana.
Yeah, it is.
It's all.
So with the audiobook success, you were saying you think Adam's reach had a lot to do with that, being on the show?
Not just the audiobook, but the book in general.
itself.
Being on that show so many times over the past year and a half, It's the book was selling like crazy before that, but it somehow kept it going.
Cool.
And I'm guessing that has to be part of what we call the Corolla bump.
Yeah, Corolla effect. Yeah.
Yeah. But Dean Laurie even says, out of all the books, I mean, the book has been reviewed close to 1,500 times, which they say if you get 100 reviews, you killed it. It's been reviewed a lot, and most of the reviews are 5 stars. You couldn't dream of what this book has done.
Well, that is very cool.
Yeah.
I know you got to run. I don't want to take you up more of your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure
man.
to meet you, and
Yeah.
thank you again for coming out here to do this.
Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.